Welcome back to Sunday Morning Praise right here on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, with your favorite church girl, the one, the only, Kayla J. And as always, we are joined by Leah Lord, our licensed professional counselor from Journey Beyond. Happy Sunday. Good morning, Leah. How you feeling today?
Good morning. I am feeling good. I'm feeling good. How you doing?
Listen, I'm doing here. How about that?
I'm
I'm
doing here.
doing, and yeah.
And I'm here. I like that. I'll tell people like I'm present, but today I'm feeling good.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is so good. Uh, we're going to do another Ask the Therapist today. We are still asking you to send in your questions. So if you have a question for Leah, feel free to shoot me an email at kwest@wurdradio.com. That's the letter K, WEST@wurdradio.com. Or you can hit me up on social media at Kayla J underscore music nerd. That's KALAJ underscore underline music nerd. And I will make sure that Leah get your questions. So as we continue these Ask the Therapist segments, we can be talking about exactly what you want to discuss. Leah, today my question is real simple. Well, not
Mhm.
really. It seems simple, but it got layers. I promise you it got layers. How do you deal with manipulation?
Ooh. All right. You heard that. So that is heavy. That's heavy. So we're gonna talk this through together. So I'm gonna ask you to jump in at some point with your thoughts. So how do you deal with manipulation? All right, so I'm going to give y'all a definition of manipulation first, just so we'll know what it is. And so, manipulation is exercising harmful influence over others for personal gain. So, it involves one person trying to exert power or influence over another person or an institution over people. And so, what manipulation does is that it's an attempt to shift power and to shift the power dynamic and create an imbalance of power, meaning that it puts one person over another in decision making, in action, in influence, and how you sway people. So, you may see this happening in corporate spaces, in politics. It's a big one. Like people campaign to shift influence, and that is a form of manipulation if your intentions are not pure and you are wanting to cause harm. But it is an attempt to influence and sway decision making. Some of the tools of manipulators can be guilt, shame, using like ultimatums, like if you don't do this, then we can't do this, or you can't have that. That's a clear tool of trying to exert power over someone and push someone to think in a way that benefits you. Gaslighting, transactional behavior, and using fear. And so we see this happening in situations where people have been harmed or victimized. Young people have been victimized, even adults have been victimized when you tell someone, well, if you don't do this, then I'm going to hurt you or your family or someone close to you, or I'm going to take something from you. It heightens a particular insecurity. And so, how you deal with it is one, being able to recognize what it is. And sometimes it's really hard because manipulation is typically not very overt. It's not like someone's coming in your face and like, I'm about to manipulate you. Absolutely not. It's very subtle, it's very covert, and it happens over time. A term that we use when we're talking about people who take advantage of others, like grooming. It is a slow process of building trust, building reliance on someone, creating a space of insecurity or need. meaning that this person can provide something to you or give you access to something, present an opportunity. Those are like the perfect storm type of relationships and interactions that can lead to manipulation. So being mindful of how you relate to someone, how someone introduces access to something. If it comes with some strings attached, it could initially come with no strings attached, but it could be strings attached like your time, your energy exchange, asking you to come to an event over and over again, or causing asking you to dismiss your boundaries. That's a big one. Like people who violate your boundaries. Maybe you have boundaries around your time and what you can do. But they're like, oh, well, it's just an hour. It's just a few minutes here. And it turns into 5 hours, 6 hours. Come into something after night, at night when you're like, I don't do things at night, or even answering emails after a certain time. Anything that also pushes you past your comfort and boundaries. So when we have boundaries, put those in place. We talked about boundaries before. We put boundaries in place to keep us safe psychologically and physically. And when we start to feel like we're getting pushed outside of that, like it can be subtle, but you'll notice like, wait, I'm actually doing way more than I initially wanted to do, or I'm feeling very fatigued, or I just don't feel good about this, like discernment. You're starting to feel like this doesn't feel right, then that's an indicator like there could be some manipulation happening that could be very subtle. The other side is some people don't know that they're manipulators because this is behavior that they've been used to um, exhibiting for their whole lives. Young people can learn to be transactional. If I behave well, I will get the things that I want. If I am agreeable, I will get particular needs and wants met. And that can then, those people grow up, right? And so I'm not villainizing children, I'm saying, but you grow up and you can become someone who does that within your friendships and intimate relationships, at work. Those behaviors can come up any type of clubs or organizations or anything like that. Those types of behaviors can show up because you seem like there's a benefit. Typically people are not manipulators if they don't see a benefit to the behavior. And the whole point is, like I said at the beginning, is they do this for personal gain. So just step back and look and see like, is this person benefiting from my overexertion? Is this person benefiting from my resources? Are they benefiting from my access to a particular space? Do I feel spent and tired and weary when I'm around them? Do I feel drained? And sometimes, like I said, it's very, very subtle. So you may not catch it right away. But if you have an inkling, trust that. That's your discernment. We talked about that before. If you're like, don't feel good, trust that. So that's just some initial ways. Kayla, I want to hear what you have to say, some of your questions, and we can continue to like process and talk through it. But that's just like a little snippet.
No, you really broke down some things of manipulation that I didn't even know or think about, especially that last part you were talking about with children. Like you said, not villainizing children, but it is a learned
Mhm, mhm,
behavior that if you do this well, you'll get this reward. And I can speak for myself of, that's kind of how you grow up. You like,
mhm.
sometimes when you grown up, you say you looking for the validation. No, it's just like, I did something good. Where's my treat?
That's right. That's
Where's
right. And
my Scooby snack?
right. It's conditioning. I love that you said learned behavior because it is. It's not like something that children innately do, right? It is typically
Right.
the adult who is in control, then giving the messaging to the child. It could be a withholding from love. So the adult could be the initial manipulator. And so a child learns that if I do or show up in these ways, I get love, I get attention, I get affection. And then they begin to see the behavior that is modeled. And typically, children also watch adults and how adults move within their relationships too. So, if you see dad and mom act a certain way, grandparents act a certain way, pastor and whoever act a certain way, officials in the church, they watch that and then they learn. I've even seen y'all gonna be mad. Um, this is not it's not a shot, but when you raise an offering, you want to talk about that, Kayla? No.
Thank you, brother so and so, for your $500.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
start off with $100, right?
And then you feel bad because you ain't got it, or they didn't call your name because you went up there to get your offering, but it wasn't what wasn't matching what everybody else was giving.
Yeah. And that's using influence. And it's not negative all the time. Like typically we hope that the goal is positive, right? You want to bless the minister, bless the ministerial family, bless the church. It is still a form of influence, and you lean heavy and you do pull on people's heartstrings and you kind of guilt them into it. And if you had a boundary of, I got $50 and that's going to be my offering, and then somehow you left and you've given a $200 offering, and that might have been your bill money or your grocery money for the week or the children's lunch money, you have been influenced and swayed and manipulated. That doesn't feel good, but it's a lesson in also for people to be clear and unwavering in their boundaries as well. Because people can try all day, but a no is still a no. That's a one way to when we talk about how to deal with manipulation. No, that's one of my favorite favorites. Still, it will saying no will always be one of my favorite things to say, because how you deal with that is somebody asks you to do something, you want to do it, no, and they can go on and on and on and on. But if your answer is no and your no is your no consistently, that saves you a lot.
It does. The no is good. The no is good. But for those people that have a hard time saying no, like me, how do we work on that? When in regards to manipulation, right? Because a lot of times, I can only speak for me. If you all are out there, you feel this way, you can sure enough chime on in with your comments,
Mm-hmm.
in your emails. But like a lot of times, you don't realize you were manipulated until you're either in the midst of the manipulation or you have already done whatever they have manipulated you to do,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? That no was never a thing for me. It was just like, oh, you've talked such a good game. I remember when I was in college, Leah, we had this study going on around campus to figure out the type of personality you are, right? And they said that there were some people that were wooers. They said I was a wooer. They said you have such a way with words where, they say you could manipulate somebody. So how do you dodge those wooers? Even though I'm a wooer, apparently, according to the study, how do you just dodge that to get to that no?
It's not even a dodge. It's like a aware, like a awareness. Like it's a being able to recognize those signs of someone who is a manipulator, which I said is really, really hard. Sometimes you got to got and then you learn from the situation. I hate to say that. That's one, like the thing will end up being your teacher. And prayerfully it doesn't cause you a significant harm. You just learn to be mindful of certain actions and behaviors. Also, just if it just doesn't sit well, again, just the no, because it's like, what is your yes? Like, what informs your yes to begin with? Is it that you think that this is going to be beneficial to a greater good, or is it going to be beneficial solely to you? Um, Ask yourself those questions. What is my why here? Why am I doing this? Because I felt guilty, or I felt like I should. That should will get you in trouble. I felt like I had to. That's a deeper thing. Why do you feel so deeply connected to something? And it literally could happen like this, where you didn't even care about the thing, and somehow after interaction with a person, you're like deeply concerned. And now you have to show up and you have to be there for people. That actually is an indication of something deeper. But that goes back to our people pleasing conversation too.
It
So
does.
y'all
It
can
does.
dig in the crates, as the people say, in the archive, and go back to that. But the people pleasing, so that those who are people pleasers, folks see those kinds of people in churches and in spaces, and they know those are the people to go to, because they'll be like, oh, I can get such and such to do it, or I can influence such and such to do these things. But keep your head on swivel, people. And a no is good. Sometimes you just got to practice saying no. Not for any other reason. It's just you need to hear yourself saying it more often. And so it's like, yeah, I really wanted to do this thing, but no, because I got to practice this. I got to practice tighten up my boundaries and having healthier boundaries and showing up a little bit better for myself. But manipulation, that is a doozy. That's a tough one. It is a tough one. It can take a long time to get away from manipulators. The thing is continuing to center, having a good relationship with God, therapy. I'm going to say that every single time. If you struggle, go to therapy, but also getting grounded with God and yourself and your faith walk, and lean on those things instead of leaning on the other person, thinking that a person can give you what you need or give you access. And if that comes with too much of a transaction, if it comes with too much effort, emotionally, physically, financially, all those things, and that definitely lets you know that it is not necessarily going to be for your benefit, and it's always going to be for the benefit of the other person.
For sure. We don't have much time left, but I want to talk to the manipulators, right? How can they get out of that mindset of that they need to manipulate people to get what they want?
Go to therapy and talk to a licensed professional about why you feel like you have to show up in this way. And then also really sit with yourself and think about um, why you feel like you can't do the work on your own. And I know it's easier to get other people to do what you want, but you have to be accountable. You got to do what you say you're going to do. You have to show up and have integrity. Some of that is a lack of those things too. So we're talking about a issue with values. But unfortunately, people who are manipulators are comfortable with that behavior because it's benefited them for so long, and they're hard to hold accountable. And typically, it comes with a battle of like the inferior, they feel low and wanting to feel superior. And so it's easy to m- manipulate and move people so that they can feel better about themselves and more superior because they're in constant battle with the lower self, the low self-esteem. So that's one of those things that it's a self-awareness thing, and some people know, but it's not a deep enough concern for them to address it. So if you are someone who knows that you manipulate and you want to change your behavior, you need to go to a therapist and be honest about your behavior, and don't try to manipulate the therapist.
Whoop, don't try to manipulate your therapist. That's a note right there where we gonna end. Leah, thank you so much for answering
You're
my
welcome.
questions on manipulation. Any last nuggets you want to give before we leave, and I'll let you share your contact information.
I'm gonna just say do better. If you are someone who thinks you can control people or make people do the things that you want to do better. You don't have to do that. Do it yourself. And for those who are feeling like they're being manipulated, be encouraged. Go get some support. Go get help. Call it out. Say, this is what I'm struggling with, and I would like to move away from it. And then, you want me to share my contact information too? All right. Well, you can find me at journeybeyondcounseling.com, Journey Beyond on Instagram. I'm going to try to get better with that. I'm not big on the social medias, unfortunately. But if you want to contact me for coaching, wellness coaching, therapy, you can go to the contact me page on my website, and that's how we can connect only. Do not privately try to reach out. Go through the website, please.
Please go through journeybeyondcounseling.com. Thank you, Leah, as always, for
You're
joining me
welcome.
here on Sunday Morning Praise. Again, folks, if you have questions for Leah, feel free to email them to myself or go to journeybeyondcounseling.com and write them there. And either she'll answer you there or we'll answer you here, right here on WURD. Again, Leah, I appreciate you. I thank you. It's time to get right back to the music here on Sunday Morning Praise with your favorite church girl, Kayla J. You're listening to 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WU.